Imagine this. You wake up one morning and the world feels different, slightly off, as though reality itself is holding its breath. It's as if the universe, your universe, has just handed you a test, but you don't know what's at stake and you don't know if you're ready. You feel it in the air, in the silence of the room, the stillness in your own mind. Everything seems ordinary, but there's a strange, almost imperceptible tension underneath it all. It's not quite fear, yet not entirely anticipation. It's as though something is waiting for you to make a decision, a choice that you can't yet understand, but one that will alter everything. You check your phone, messages, notifications. The world continues, oblivious to what you sense. But deep inside, a thought lingers. Is this the moment? The moment when something changes? The moment when the universe is testing you? What if every choice you make today, no matter how trivial it may seem, has consequences you can't yet comprehend? Now you might dismiss this feeling. You might roll your eyes and convince yourself that it's just the daily noise of life, the humdrum of the mundane. But what if it's not? What if everything you've been taught to ignore, to overlook, is actually a sign? What if the universe is constantly testing you, pushing you towards something greater, and you're the one missing it? Consider this. Life is not simply a series of events, one after another, to be lived passively. It's a web of intricately connected moments, each holding an invitation to either awaken to your true nature or fall deeper into the illusion of who you think you are. Every time you make a decision, every time you encounter conflict, struggle, or even joy, the universe is testing you. But it's not a test in the way we typically understand it. It's not a quiz with clear answers and a predictable outcome. No, this is a test of your essence, of your very being. What does the universe want from you? The answer isn't as simple as you might think. Because in truth, this test isn't something you can study for. You can't prepare in the conventional way. You can't memorize the right answers or follow a set of instructions. Instead, this test forces you to confront something much more profound, the truth of who you really are. And here lies the paradox. The universe is relentless in its quest to test you, but it never hands you a clear guidebook. It pushes you into situations that seem random, chaotic even, yet are often filled with a strange, unspoken meaning. It asks questions you aren't prepared to answer, and it does all of this in the quietest, most subtle of ways. You might never even notice the test, at least not until it's too late. By the time you realize, it could be the defining moment of your life, or your undoing. Think about it. How many times have you been faced with a choice that seemed insignificant at first? How many times have you ignored your gut feeling, dismissed that little voice inside you that whispered, "This is it"? And how many times have you regretted that dismissal later, when you realized the universe had been nudging you in a direction you should have followed? What if this test is designed not to break you, but to push you beyond the limits you've placed on yourself? What if it's not about success or failure, but about transformation? What if, in the very moment of your deepest challenge, the universe is offering you an opportunity to evolve into something greater than you ever thought possible? Now imagine a person, a regular person, like you or me, who finds themselves at a crossroads. Everything seems fine on the surface, but deep down, they know something is wrong. They feel restless, uneasy, as though their life is being pulled in a direction they can't quite understand. They've reached a point where their usual methods of coping aren't working anymore. They're confronted with a question they can no longer ignore. Am I living the life I was meant to live? This question lingers, gnawing at the edges of their consciousness. It grows louder, more insistent, and no matter how much they try to distract themselves, it continues to echo in their mind. The universe has spoken, and it's up to them to listen. But here's the catch. The answer to that question won't come easily. It will require something of them, something they're not sure they have within themselves. But even worse, the moment they begin to search for that answer, they realize something unsettling. They've been living their life according to a script they didn't even write. They've been following paths others have paved for them, following patterns they inherited without question, living a life dictated by external forces instead of internal truth. And now, in the face of this test, they must decide, will they continue down this well-worn path, or will they dare to forge a new one, no matter how uncertain or frightening that journey may be? The universe has set the stage for their awakening. The test is not some grand, dramatic event. No, it's in the quiet moments. It's in the choices they make when no one is watching. It's in the ways they respond to the challenges life throws their way. The test is in every conversation, every decision, every moment of silence when they must confront the truth within themselves. So, what happens when the universe tests you? It doesn't come with answers. It comes with an invitation to confront your limitations, to break free from the life you've been told to live, and to awaken to the vast, untapped potential within you. The question isn't whether you're ready for the test, it's whether you'll recognize it when it arrives, and when it does, how will you respond? The stage is set, and the test has begun. But are you ready to face what lies ahead? It seems almost absurd, doesn't it? The idea that the universe might be testing us. We live in a world that values logic, certainty, and measurable outcomes. Tests are things we study for, prepare for, and, ultimately, control. But what if this idea, the idea that we're constantly being tested by something greater than ourselves, isn't as far-fetched as it seems? What if this test isn't about academic knowledge or worldly success, but about something far deeper, our psychological and spiritual evolution? The hidden problem is that we are, each of us, born into a reality that demands we forget the profound truths of our nature. From the moment we are born, we are imprinted with beliefs, identities, and patterns of thought that force us to live lives we didn't consciously choose. This is where the test begins, in the quiet, unnoticed erosion of our truest selves. To understand this, we must look beyond the surface of our everyday lives. We must examine the invisible forces that shape us, forces that, if ignored, can lead us into unconscious patterns, self-deception, and a life that doesn't fully reflect who we are meant to become. These forces are rooted in the deepest recesses of our psychology, and they're often so subtle that we barely notice them. They're embedded in the stories we tell ourselves, the roles we play, and the societal structures we blindly conform to. These are the hidden traps that the universe, in its wisdom, places before us. Take Carl Jung's idea of the shadow, for instance. Jung believed that every human being carries within them an unconscious aspect of themselves, the parts of their personality they reject, deny, or repress. This shadow contains everything we have learned to dislike about ourselves, from our darker impulses to the vulnerabilities we prefer to hide. And yet, the shadow is not simply a collection of negative traits. It is a crucial part of our wholeness. In fact, Jung argued that true individuation, the process of becoming our authentic selves, can only happen when we confront and integrate this shadow. The universe's tests often come in the form of our shadow, demanding we face those parts of ourselves we would rather ignore. When we meet situations in life that feel too overwhelming, too uncomfortable, or too challenging, it's often because we are being asked to confront some unconscious part of ourselves. Maybe it's a fear we've buried deep within, or perhaps it's a truth we are afraid to acknowledge. But why does the universe work this way? Why is it that the moment we try to awaken, we seem to be faced with our deepest, darkest fears? Nietzsche, ever the philosopher of radical self-overcoming, would likely argue that this is precisely the point. To transcend, to grow, we must first descend into the abyss. One must have chaos in oneself to give birth to a dancing star, he famously wrote. This chaos, the untamed parts of our psyche, is what the universe forces us to face. The test isn't about running from it, it's about dancing with it, understanding it, and ultimately using it as fuel for growth. But there's another force at work here that we must acknowledge: the cultural conditioning that shapes our expectations, desires, and behaviors. From childhood onward, we are taught who we should be, who we must become in order to fit into the world around us. Society instills in us the belief that success looks a certain way, that happiness follows a predictable path, and that to be valuable, we must conform to specific ideals. These ideals are often rooted in materialism, competition, and a shallow understanding of self-worth. Schopenhauer, a philosopher known for his bleak outlook on existence, believed that much of human suffering arises from the insatiable nature of desire, our unrelenting need for more, whether it's more success, more wealth, or more validation. In this framework, the universe's tests are not only personal, but social. The test asks, can you let go of these external desires? Can you confront the ways you've been conditioned to measure your value and find your own truth beyond the expectations of the world? This is the hidden problem that many of us face. The test is not a singular event. It is a constant undercurrent in our lives. Every moment when you feel overwhelmed by anxiety, every time you question the meaning of your life, every time you ask yourself, is this really all there is? This is the universe's test. It's asking you to question the layers of conditioning you've internalized. It's asking you to look beyond the illusion of who you think you are and discover the more profound, unshakable essence within you. Sartre, with his existential philosophy, would argue that we are condemned to be free. In his view, freedom is both a gift and a curse. We are free to create meaning in our lives, but this freedom comes with the weight of responsibility. When the universe tests us, it often forces us to confront this existential burden. The question is not whether the universe is testing us, but whether we have the courage to create meaning in the midst of our fear and confusion. This brings us to the psychological roots of this hidden problem. Why is it so difficult to break free from the patterns of conditioning? Why do we fear change, even when we know it's necessary? The answer lies in the human psyche itself. Our brains are wired to seek comfort and avoid pain. This is why we cling to old patterns, even if the société I no longer serve us. The discomfort of facing the unknown, of questioning the reality we've built, can feel terrifying. It's easier to stay in the familiar, even if that familiarity is suffocating. But here's the twist. This avoidance of discomfort is exactly what keeps us trapped in the cycle of the universe's test. The more we resist the invitation to change, the more the universe pushes us. It throws us into situations that challenge us, that force us to confront ourselves, because it knows that only through this confrontation can we break free from our self-imposed limitations. This is the paradox. We are simultaneously the architects of our suffering and the ones who can transcend it. But first, we must be willing to face the truth about who we are and who we are not. The universe's test, then, is a mirror. It shows us our deepest fears and desires, but also the path to our greatest potential. The only question that remains is, are you ready to face it? Now imagine you've accepted the challenge. You've acknowledged that the universe is testing you, and you've decided that it's time to face it. But what if, just beneath the surface of this grand awakening, something far more insidious is at work? What if the consequences of failing, or even merely resisting this test, aren't just personal, but rippling outward, touching everything and everyone around you? The problem with these tests is not just that they are uncomfortable or frightening. It's that they have a way of shaping your reality in ways you may never fully understand. The consequences aren't always immediate, and they often operate in the shadows, pulling the strings of your life when you least expect it. Like an unseen force, they seep into your relationships, your career, your sense of self. In fact, most of the time, you may not even realize the weight of the impact until it's too late. When you avoid the test, when you resist the universe's invitation to face your shadow, to confront your conditioning, you're not simply maintaining the status quo. No, you are reinforcing the very patterns that keep you trapped in a life that doesn't reflect your true potential. Every moment of hesitation, every choice made out of fear is like another brick added to the wall around you. The wall that prevents you from seeing the vast horizon of your life, the freedom that exists just beyond your grasp. The more you ignore the test, the more the consequences grow. It's not just that you miss an opportunity. It's that you build a life based on avoidance, a life that lacks authenticity. You remain tethered to a version of yourself that was created by others, by the world, rather than the version of yourself you were meant to be. This disconnect from your true self creates an undercurrent of dissatisfaction, of unease that grows over time. You might not recognize it immediately, but eventually, you feel it. The weight of unrealized potential becomes a silent companion, whispering to you in moments of quiet reflection. But the consequences don't stop at your own life. The unseen forces that govern your decisions, your fears, your unconscious desires, don't just impact you, they shape how you interact with the world. If you are living a life based on external validation, avoiding the discomfort of truly facing yourself, you will begin to attract relationships, opportunities, and situations that mirror this disconnection. You will draw people into your life who are just as lost, just as caught in the same patterns, and this cycle perpetuates itself. Let's look at a deeper, more psychological level. Cognitive biases, the unconscious mental shortcuts our brains take, are powerful in shaping how we experience the world. These biases influence everything from how we interpret events to how we make decisions. One of the most pervasive biases is confirmation bias, the tendency to seek out information that confirms what we already believe to be true. When we avoid the universe's test, when we ignore the deeper questions of existence, we begin to filter the world through the lens of what we are comfortable with. We surround ourselves with the familiar, reinforcing our existing beliefs and fears. This creates a feedback loop, a cycle of self-deception that is almost impossible to break without conscious effort. When you avoid confronting the deeper questions of life, when you ignore the call to step into your true self, you are effectively imprisoning your mind. And in this mental prison, your perception of reality becomes warped. The universe continues to test you, but you can't see the test for what it is. You remain stuck, living a life that is less than you are capable of. But let's take this one step further. Consider the neurological implications of living in a state of avoidance. Neuroscience has shown that the brain is deeply impacted by stress, fear, and the avoidance of difficult emotions. When we choose the path of least resistance, we activate the brain's stress response, triggering a cascade of biochemical reactions. Over time, this can lead to chronic anxiety, depression, and even physical health problems. The brain, in its effort to protect us from discomfort, begins to shut down the very pathways that allow us to grow and evolve. When we avoid the test, we are not only avoiding psychological and spiritual growth, but we are literally rewiring our brains to resist change. The brain's plasticity, its ability to adapt and grow, is stunted. You may feel stuck in your circumstances, unable to move forward, unable to break free from patterns that no longer serve you. At a societal level, these individual consequences are amplified. We live in a culture that prizes certainty, comfort, and immediate gratification. We are conditioned to avoid pain, to numb ourselves, to constantly seek distractions. Our society celebrates the appearance of success and happiness, not the deeper work of self-discovery. This collective mindset creates a culture of avoidance, where people are taught to fear the unknown and avoid the discomfort of facing their true selves. The consequences of this avoidance ripple through the fabric of society, creating a cycle of superficiality, alienation, and disconnection. But here's the most unsettling part of it all. While we are avoiding the test, while we are pushing away the discomfort, the universe doesn't stop. The tests keep coming, each one more subtle, more insistent than the last. The more you resist, the more the universe tightens its grip on you. Eventually, you'll be faced with a moment so stark, so unavoidable, that you will have no choice but to confront it. But by then, the cost may be much higher. You may have lost years, even decades of your life to fear, doubt, and avoidance. Now let's pause for a moment. Can you see the consequences of this cycle? Can you feel the weight of what's at stake? The test is not simply about your individual growth. It's about breaking free from the chains that keep you trapped in a life that is not your own. It's about confronting the unseen forces, your fears, your conditioning, your self-deception, that prevent you from becoming the person you were meant to be. And until you recognize this, until you step into the test, the consequences will continue to shape your life in ways you can't even begin to understand. And the universe isn't just testing you. It's offering you the chance to break free. But the longer you resist, the more you will feel the weight of that resistance, and the consequences will grow silently until they can no longer be ignored. There comes a moment, often unheralded, when the realization strikes you with sudden clarity. I can't keep living like this. It doesn't come with fanfare, no dramatic shift in your surroundings, just an inner breaking point. You've been running from the universe's test for so long, your soul weary from avoiding the uncomfortable truth that has been slowly creeping into your life. But now, you've reached the tipping point. You can no longer deny it. The pressure has built up, and you can feel it in your bones. You must break free. But how do you do it? How do you escape this invisible cage that has held you prisoner for so long, when the very forces that created it, your fears, your conditioning, your unconscious desires, are so deeply embedded in your psyche? This is where the rebellion begins. The moment you make the decision to break free, you are no longer just a passive participant in your life. You are a revolutionary, engaged in an existential battle to reclaim your power, your authenticity, and your freedom. And while the process is far from easy, it is the only path that leads to the kind of radical self-transformation you are seeking. It's not a single sweeping event. It's a series of decisions, each one acting as a tiny act of rebellion against the old version of yourself. Each step toward freedom is a confrontation with the forces that have kept you in chains. The first step in this rebellion is to stop resisting the discomfort. This is perhaps the most radical shift in perspective you'll need to make. For so long, you've been taught that discomfort is something to avoid, that pain is something to run from. But in truth, discomfort is a signal, one of the most powerful signals the universe can send. It's an invitation to break through, to evolve, and this discomfort, it's where the real growth happens. Consider the idea of anti-fragility, a concept popularized by Nassim Taleb. The idea is simple, yet profound. Some things grow stronger when exposed to stress and chaos. In fact, it's not just that these things survive adversity, they thrive in it. The universe's test, then, is not meant to break you. It's meant to reshape you, to forge you into something stronger than you ever imagined. Your resistance to discomfort is the very thing that keeps you fragile. Only by embracing it can you transcend the limitations you've placed on yourself. This requires a willingness to confront the darkest corners of your psyche, your shadow, your deepest fears, and your greatest insecurities. But this is where the real power lies. There is an ancient wisdom in the willingness to face these parts of yourself. Nietzsche's concept of the Übermensch, the overman or superman, was not about becoming something superhuman, but about embracing the totality of one's being, including all of the parts society deems unacceptable. The Übermensch does not shrink from their flaws or imperfections, but accepts them as part of the larger whole. The rebellion, then, is not a rejection of your flaws. It's an acceptance of them, an acknowledgement that these dark aspects of yourself are just as much a part of who you are as your light. By accepting your shadow, you reclaim your power. You break free from the grip of your unconscious, which has held you prisoner for so long. But the rebellion doesn't stop at self-acceptance. It also demands that you disrupt the patterns of your daily life. You must begin to actively question the societal structures that have shaped your identity, your job, your relationships, your role in this world. This isn't about rejecting society outright, but about reclaiming your own authenticity within it. Jean-Paul Sartre's concept of bad faith can be a powerful tool in understanding this process. Sartre believed that we often deceive ourselves, living inauthentic lives by conforming to the roles imposed on us by others. We adopt a false identity in order to avoid the responsibility of true freedom. The rebellion begins when you break free from this bad faith, when you no longer allow external expectations to dictate your sense of self. You stop playing the roles others have given you and start creating your own. But how do you do this practically? How do you begin to rebel against everything you've known? It starts with small acts of courage. It's in the way you show up for yourself in moments of doubt. It's in choosing to step into the unknown, even when every fiber of your being wants to retreat to safety. It's in the decision to say no to the things that no longer serve you, even when the world tells you to say yes. And then there's the ultimate act of rebellion, letting go. It sounds simple, but in reality it's one of the most difficult things you'll ever do. Letting go of your attachments, your desires, your need for approval. It's a radical shift in consciousness, but this is where true freedom lies. When you stop clinging to the familiar, when you stop trying to control the outcomes of your life, you open yourself to the infinite possibilities that the universe has to offer. This is the rebellion that goes against everything society tells you. Society tells you to strive for more, to keep accumulating, to stay busy. But the rebellion says, you are enough as you are. You do not need to prove your worth. You do not need to chase validation. You simply need to be. And in this state of being, you will discover a truth that has always been there but was hidden beneath layers of fear and conditioning. You are infinitely capable. The universe's test, in all its challenges and discomforts, is simply a reflection of the untapped potential within you. The moment you stop resisting and start embracing your own power, you become a force unto yourself. So, how do you break free? You rebel. You break the chains of your own making. You confront your deepest fears, and you make the decision to live authentically. It won't be easy, but it will be the most important thing you ever do. At this point, you've felt the pressure of the test, the weight of resistance, the crushing reality of confronting your shadow and the systems that have shaped you. You've rebelled, you've challenged the chains of conformity, and you've faced the discomfort of stepping into unknown spaces. But even now, As you move forward in your journey, there's something deeper waiting, something that shifts everything you've been through, a realization that casts light on all the darkness, a truth so simple yet so profound that it redefines your entire existence. It's this: the test was never about becoming someone different, it was about returning to who you always were. Everything you've faced, every challenge, every obstacle, every painful moment of growth has been guiding you toward a singular realization: that you are already whole. You've spent so much time striving to be something else, better, stronger, more successful, more perfect, that you forgot the most fundamental truth: you are already enough. The universe's test wasn't a cruel measure of your inadequacy, but a gentle prod toward remembering your essence. It was a wake-up call, not to become someone new, but to awaken to the fullness of who you've always been, beneath the layers of fear, conditioning, and self-doubt. Do you feel the weight of this realization? The test was never about fixing you, because there was never anything broken to begin with. Your fears, your anxieties, your failures, they were never the things that defined you. The test was about shedding the illusions you had built around your identity. The test was about stripping away the false layers, the stories you were told about yourself, until you could see your true, unadulterated self, the part of you that's been with you all along, timeless and infinite. This is where Carl Jung's concept of individuation comes full circle. Individuation isn't about becoming someone you're not, it's about integrating all parts of yourself, the light and the dark, so that you can live authentically. The shadow is not an enemy to be destroyed, it's a vital aspect of your being to be accepted and embraced. Your potential is not something you need to strive toward endlessly, it's something that exists already within you, waiting to be recognized. But here's the catch: you can't recognize this truth until you stop resisting. Until you stop fighting against the universe's test. When you finally let go of the desperate need for approval, the frantic pursuit of external goals, the constant measuring of yourself against others, you make space for the deeper truth to emerge. The illusion of separation, of not being enough, dissolves. You realize that all along, you were connected to something greater. You were never alone in your journey. The universe wasn't testing you to punish you, but to help you remember your inherent oneness with it. This realization shifts everything. You stop seeing your life as a series of hurdles to overcome and start seeing it as a journey of awakening. You no longer live in reaction to the world, but from a place of grounded authenticity. The external world, the chaos, the distractions, the societal expectations becomes background noise. You start creating your own rhythms, your own meaning. The test was always about breaking free from the ill-you, scions of the world, and discovering that you, in your essence, are already everything you need to be. This is the truth that makes everything clear. All the struggles, all the pain, all the confusion you've faced have been part of a much larger cosmic dance. The universe wasn't just throwing random challenges your way, it was guiding you toward the ultimate realization that you are, in fact, the creator of your own reality. You've been shaping yourself, your world, your path, with every thought, every belief, every action. And now, having faced the test and emerged, you understand that the most profound truth is this: you are the universe, experiencing itself through your own unique lens. What does this mean practically? It means that every moment of your life becomes a choice, a chance to live authentically, to act from a place of deep truth. You no longer need to search outside yourself for answers. You are no longer a passive observer of your life. You are its architect, its creator. You are the force that shapes your reality. And here lies the final, most profound paradox. The more you embrace your authentic self, the more you let go of the need to control, the more powerful you become. The more you stop trying to force your life to fit into a prescribed mold, the more it unfolds into its highest potential. This is the irony of the test. The moment you stop resisting, you align yourself with the flow of life itself, and everything you once sought effortlessly begins to fall into place. The struggle ends when you realize there was never any need to struggle at all. The test wasn't a trial to see if you could survive. It was a test to see if you could remember the truth. You are already whole. As you embrace this truth, your perspective shifts. Life no longer feels like a series of random events or pointless obstacles. Every experience, whether joyous or painful, becomes a lesson in self-discovery, a part of your ongoing journey of awakening. The test, you now understand, wasn't about success or failure. It was about self-realization, about coming home to yourself. And so, with this realization, you walk forward in your life, not as a victim of circumstance, but as a sovereign being. The universe no longer tests you because you've already passed. You've passed the test of self-awareness, of self-acceptance, and of realizing that the only test that matters is the one that leads you back to yourself. There's an old Zen saying, "The obstacle is the path." The obstacles you've faced in life, the hardships, the challenges, the pain, were never in your way. They were the path, guiding you toward a deeper understanding of who you are. Every step, every moment, every challenge was a part of this grand revelation. And now, standing here, you realize something that will stay with you forever. The universe never tests you because it doubts you. It tests you because it knows the truth of who you are before you do. And in testing you, it's not pushing you to become something more. It's simply waiting for you to remember that you've always been more than you could ever have imagined.